Studio 5 presents an intimate look at exhibiting forgiveness.
Hello, my name is Titus Gafar. I'm the writer-director of the film Exhibiting Forgiveness. It's a very personal story about an artist struggling to reconcile with his past. This film is for anybody who's ever struggled with forgiveness. Making this film was unlike anything I've ever done before. I'm used to doing a lot of things on my own. Painting is a process that can be done on your own. Filmmaking is not. I thought I was gonna hate that part of it, but in fact, that was the thing that I enjoyed most. I want to try to find a way to bridge, for me, the gap between painting and filmmaking. They're often two very different audiences. I think there's a potential for this film to bring those two groups together.
And he is the man behind this cinematic masterpiece. We've got more from the celebrated painter turned filmmaker in this extended look at Exhibiting Forgiveness, which stars Andre Holland, John Earl Jelks, Andra Day, and Ingenue Ellis Taylor. 3 of those cast members are joining us for today's show. We begin with actors Andre Holland and John Earl Jelks. Andre Holland plays the role of the artist Terrell, and John Earl Jelks plays his estranged father, LaRon.
I ain't seen you for 15 years, but now you want to be somebody's granddaddy? You somebody's daddy right now?
I don't want him to hear this. Listen, I need you to speak to him. I need you to talk to him.
No.
He has changed.
He ain't changed.
It's just gonna follow us home if you don't deal with it here.
And you guys take us through this father-son journey. From both of you, where did you go to really connect with your character? Was this someone you know? Where'd you go?
Where I went was right so close to home. I mean, I went to my father, I went to his father, meaning that these guys was, around before they passed away, and I've listened to their stories, and each of these stories was different because when I knew my grandfather, he was a different guy than the way my father explained that he was. Although, he was saying he was this kind of hard guy, working to sun up, sundown. He believed in the strap, for any mishap that you may have done. And I said, if I can just encompass both of those guys with who I want to be, I think I would probably do all right at portraying LaRon.
Andre, where'd you find Terrell?
Mostly in the script. I mean, the script was written so well, and I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Titus before shooting. So I got to ask him a bunch of questions about his relationship with his dad, and also just about his art practice. And I think we kind of we found our way into the character through that.
John, would you say your character is a villain or no?
I would definitely say no to that. I don't think he was a villain. Is he flawed? Yes. But villain, no. I don't think that Titus wrote any villains in this. I don't think he turned LaRon into a villain. I think he really wanted to show that this man was just flawed, maybe like his father was, and his father before his father, and so on. And you know how that thing happens. It gets passed down.
Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Mean old Mother Goose. Lions on the loose. They don't frighten me at all.
Andre, I heard you say that this role scared you a little bit. Why?
Well, the technical challenge of learning how to paint was a part of it. I have a lot of respect for visual artists, and it's no small thing to just say, okay, in the next 3 months, I'm gonna learn how to do this. It's just not possible, It kind of asks for everything, the part does. And so it frightened me a little bit.
It was my first love.
Hey, you got flaws, Terrell. Ain't you got flaws? I'm not the same man you used to know before, Terrell. That's what you said, right? Why are you still making excuses for him?
If you don't forgive others of their past sins, then you can't be forgiven.
It's a powerful film to me. What would you say is forgiveness, and how do we get there?
Oh, that's a good question. I really believe that if you can forgive yourself for whatever you think you've done to that other person, you can ask for forgiveness in a truthful way, in a way that you can say, look, I'm still not all the way healed or all the way put together, but I'm looking at the part that I played in this, and so you can help me by just listening.
Faith plays a big role in LaRon's transformation. How important do you think that was for your character and for the film itself?
I believe that faith is what grounds everybody. If you got any faith, it brings you back to initially what you've been taught. And I think with LaRon, he grew up in church. Grandmother, mother, everybody was church people that believed in God. And I think that's what really saved him in the end. And when he was going through his toughest parts, his toughest moments of his life, it was his faith that pulls him through.
I would say for Terrell, faith is a little more complicated. Am I correct there? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think it is more complicated for him. I think the faith he was taught and his lived experience are incongruent with one another. And I think that fight, that wrestling that we see him do in the movie is something that many people go through.
For both of you, Titus is a renowned painter. Many of us familiar with his work, seen them in museums. But you have a painter now who says, I'm going to do a movie, and this is going to be my first film. And you guys, with all of your incredible acting credits, say yes to someone's first film. What made you say yes for both of you?
What made me say yes was the fact that he had the courage to even create this. And sometimes you just need to have the opportunity to do what you already can see. And he had a vision.
Even though it was his first time, you know how in church, somebody get up to sing a song, we all know in the first, 30 seconds whether they got it or not, you know what I mean? Yeah. And if they got it, they got it. They don't, they don't. And if they got it, we don't care if it's their first time or their 50th time. We just want somebody to sing our song.
Real quick, for both of you, what lesson do you take away from this project for yourselves?
I took away that I'm going to be a better father and a better person.
Yeah, my takeaway is, man, I just want to work with great people, continue to work with great people. Because this company of actors and our director, it just created an experience that was so special and so magical.
Still to come, actress and singer Andra Day.
The film is called Exhibiting Forgiveness. What is forgiveness and how do we get there?
Forgiveness for me is also intrinsically tied to my faith, and I think that forgiveness is something that I truly believe comes from God. I think it's a gift. It's just a heavy gift. It's a hard one.
As our special Studio 5 look at Exhibiting Forgiveness continues.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We are continuing our intimate and in-depth look at Exhibiting Forgiveness. Joining us now is actress and singer Andra Day. She plays the role of Aisha in the film, a young wife and mother who's married to the artist Terrell.
What about a little more yellow?
What would you say your personal connection or weigh-in was?
There's the obvious one, which is that her and I are both musicians. We both work in music. What do you think? The deeper connection that her and Terrell, I think had to the narrative and to the story was that is making the decision and having a deep desire to live an emotionally healthier life than possibly the generation that came before you, which I think is to have peace, you know what I mean? To have joy, to be able to pursue the things you want to pursue, to have boundaries, to forgive, and I think all of us have some probably level or degree of maybe unresolved trauma or trauma that we had to resolve. But it's all in a determination to live maybe not necessarily a calm life or just a tranquil, but to have an inner peace, right? With yourself and with your environment and your circumstances. And for me, that was the huge way into my character and beyond my character to the overall narrative of the story.
Speak to your contribution musically to this film. Is the song Bricks?
Bricks, mm-hmm.
Tell me about it and the process of getting that out of you.
Yes. I think this process dealt with forgiveness with everyone. And it came from a lot of conversation with Titus and mulling over the script and the way it resonated with me. And I'm always looking at things from a spiritual perspective, right? That's why I say things like miracles in the song, because I think when we're looking for miracles, we're always looking for, you know, water to be turned to wine, or we're looking for mountains to move, or we're looking. But I think one of the greatest miracles of life in general is this idea that we're able to somehow create a reality and build a future that we've never actually experienced, you know, particularly when it comes to creating a healthy home environment or an environment of peace when all you've ever known is abuse and trauma and turmoil. So I'm sort of examining that miracle in this song.
Titus is a painter. That's what we know him for. And then he decides, after doing a documentary and a series of paintings, I'm going to make a film. What makes you say yes to a first-time filmmaker, this one in particular?
I'm a huge fan of his work. So honestly, I saw yes as soon as I saw that name on the front of the script. I was like, Titus Kaphar is making a movie. I have to do this. You know, so that's definitely what made me say yes. But I think when people ask, well, why'd you say yes to a first-time director? I was like, I wasn't saying yes to a first-time director. I was saying yes to a visionary. Anything Titus does that he's actually passionate about, that's not being forced on him, or he's not feeling obligated to do, anything he feels passionate about and he's excited about will be of this quality and of this caliber. And that's the difference. It wasn't about his experience as a filmmaker, it was just his experience as a person bringing vision to life, you know.
The film is called Exhibiting Forgiveness. What is forgiveness and how do we get there?
Forgiveness for me is also intrinsically tied to my faith, and I think that forgiveness is something that I truly believe comes from God. I think it's a gift. It's just a heavy gift. It's a hard one. But I think it's also, forgiveness is freedom. We think that forgiveness often is also letting another person off the hook, and that's not really the case, but it's saying I'm freeing myself of this burden and you of this burden, you know what I mean? And so I think that but it's a battle. And I think forgiveness is also a beautiful choice that we have to make daily. I don't think that's something I considered prior to this, which is that you don't just forgive sometimes and move on. Sometimes it's a work. You have to forgive daily, just the way you have to choose to love daily.
Andra Day made her acting debut in 2021, playing Billie Holiday in the film The United States versus Billie Holiday. She's also a well-known Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter. Who can ever forget the massive hit, Rise Up? We need to take a quick break, but as we do, it's time to share this week's story and pictures, and we dedicate this week's Studio 5 Snapshot to another star in this film, and that is the artwork of Titus Kaphar, whose work hangs in some of the greatest museums and galleries in the world. Titus Kaphar is a painter, sculptor, and filmmaker. Some of his work appear in the film Exhibiting Forgiveness. In his work, he often uses deconstructive techniques of cutting, shredding, stitching, binding, and erasing, both subject and support. Titus has said, if we don't amend history by making new images and new representations, we are always going to be excluding ourselves. This look at his work of inclusion is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot.
Just moments away.
You primarily have expressed yourself on canvas as an artist. To go from being an artist on canvas to actually creating a film.
Rungs on a ladder, you know. If I had jumped to the top, it would have never succeeded.
Our conversation with the film's writer and director, Titus Kaphar, on this special Studio 5 look at Exhibiting Forgiveness.
Welcome back to this special edition of Studio 5. Exhibiting Forgiveness is inspired by the life of Titus Kaphar. The first-time filmmaker is a real-life celebrated artist. He crafted the script for the story, and he's directing the film.
If you don't forgive others of their past sins, then you can't be forgiven.
Have you asked yourself one time, what's best for us? For him, for your grandson?
So Titus, you did the documentary as well as paintings and then decided that wasn't enough. What happened?
This never started as that. That's not what I set out to do initially. I set out to help my children understand a little bit better, my two sons, about their father and about the the world that I come from and how different that world is from the one they're growing up in.
You forgive your father? Did you ever even like him?
The character of the father is not the villain in this story, and my father is not the villain in my life. Writing this script helped me really come to terms with that reality. And my children and I now have a much more open conversation about my upbringing, and it has been beneficial for the relationship.
Why are you asking me that?
Do you remember that broken mirror?
That night didn't happen. It was a bad dream, I decided.
What about all the other nights?
Tell me what the process was like, because you primarily have expressed yourself on canvas as an artist, to go from being an artist on canvas to actually creating a film.
A friend of mine said, after seeing this film, he said, "Titus, it's interesting. You've been painting this movie your entire career." I was thinking about writing a letter to my sons. How do I tell them this story? And it started with me waking up in the morning and starting to write. I started to sketch and I started to paint. And so the familiarity of putting brush to canvas made it possible for me to work through this process of writing that I had never done before, because the writing and the painting were actually connected. I feel blessed by the experience that I had. People who decided to come on this project believed in the mission of the project, believed in the narrative and what it had the capacity to do in hearts and minds once it existed into the world, once it was fully realized.
Let's talk about the casting for a moment. I mean, you have cast everyone so perfectly. I love every single scene of the film. What was happening for you as you're watching all of this unfold?
What was I feeling? How? How? This is my first film. How did Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, Andre Holland, John Earl Jelks, Andrew Day all agree to be in my first directorial debut? Like,
Hello.
I felt humbled. I felt really, really, really humbled. I don't know how else to say it. Everyone had some relationship to them, to this script. So I can't take credit for it. I can't pretend like, oh, Titus is so good, he's so whatever. I can't do that. There's stuff that happens in this film and you feel it. It's very clear to me that we had some covering on this.
With that said, what role does faith play in getting all this done, and also in the lives of the characters, yourself included, in exhibiting and finding that path to forgiveness?
People of faith love me most in the world. Those are the people who saved my life, the people who have nurtured me, cared for me, built my moral principles and values. That's the world they come from. So what does faith have to do with this project? Brother has everything to do with this project.
Jesus is strong enough to save.
How are you feeling having your first film under your belt?
I was just trying to be honest. I was trying to make something that was vulnerable and truthful enough that my children would be able to connect to it. The result has actually been that the film has opened up things for viewers that I just never expected. I've been making paintings for almost 20 years, man. I've done hundreds and hundreds of exhibitions. My work has been on the cover of Time magazine. I'm in MoMA, I'm in the Metropolitan, I'm like all over the place. And I can tell you, I've made nothing in my career that comes close to the responses that I've received from this film.
Brick by brick, that's how we move.
I put it on canvas so that I could hold it by the throat.
It was a meaningful part of my healing process. I didn't set out to make this film and be like, I'm gonna go through this whole emotional and it's gonna take me on this journey and I will come closer to my healing. That's not what I set out to do in any way, shape, or form. But God had other plans, I guess.
Titus's paintings are on display at museums across the United States and Australia. For more information on his work, go to kafarstudio.com. Welcome back to Studio 5. Music helps us to bring you this show each and every week, and this week's soundtrack comes from recording artist Andra Day, who also helped to craft the music in this film. Now, we've been sampling one of her newest tracks as we worked on the show. Join us and hear why Probably is what's playing in my ear this week. We have just a few moments left in our show. We want to give that to the Genius Grant recipient himself, Titus Kafar. He's got this week's final word. I'll end with this. If you could go back and talk to young Titus in light of all that you've been through and where we're sitting right now, what would you tell that little boy?
I would tell him it's actually okay to feel what you feel. Like give yourself the space to feel what you feel. That would be the first thing. And then next thing is I would say, I know it feels hopeless right now, but I'm telling you, we do all right. We do all right.
That's a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and for this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back. See where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.